Okay, so welcome to the second class in this free series on the medicine woman. I'm so excited to dive into this class today. I have so much prepared to speak to you about, and just letting you know, my notes are tangible. So I will be looking down at my notes. If you see me looking down, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm so excited to dive into this archetype today and to start to lay some of the foundations. As you know, if you've been coming to this free series, what we're really doing here is kind of like summer school for the Rose Temple Academy, which is picking up in September. And what I'm really using these classes for is an opportunity to explore some of the places that we want to lean into, or where we might have blocks or limitations around expressing and embodying these archetypes, so that when we do dive deeper in those archetypes in the Rose Temple starting in September, we're primed and ready to really go on that deep dive journey. So yeah, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. If you're here live, if you're watching on the recording, thanks for being here. And I hope you get a lot out of this class. If something benefits you, if you learn something new, think about sharing it with someone who you love, who you think might benefit. It's free for them to join Coven and have access to all of these classes. So I really want to reach as many people as possible with this work. So yeah, feel free to share it with someone that you love if that feels aligned and resonates with you. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the medicine woman archetype, and we're going to be talking a lot about, first of all, we're going to talk a little bit about the history of herbal medicine. We're going to talk about what embodying the medicine woman archetype really looks like and means, and we're going to have a big conversation about integrity and right relationship. I'm super excited to teach this class today. I just got off of a weekend with my herbal teachers, and it was really nourishing for me. I got to reconnect with the land where I studied herbal medicine, and I got to reconnect with my teachers and their teachers. And one of the things that reminded me of, which is always a good reminder around integrity, is just honoring our teachers and honoring our lineage. So I really want to just speak to that and honor my teachers. My herbal mentor, her name is Tamara Segal. She's an incredible herbalist, and she has taught me so much. The plants are my teachers. The land is my teacher. I have so many other teachers, but I think it's really important to speak to and name and honor our teachers and our lineages. So I want to mention that as well. And I'll probably be mentioning different things that came up for me over that weekend as we go through today's class. So let's dive into a little bit of a history of herbal medicine. I think this is really important to look at as we step into our study of herbal medicine and embodying the medicine woman archetype, is to look at the history and the persecution in that history. And what it means to be a herbalist is always connected to being in rebellion against the status quo. As herbalists, we are always in this active sort of revolution of what it means to heal, of what it means to take care of our bodies, our health, of what it means to be in relationship with the land. All of these, the the sort of mindset and perspective of herbal medicine is very contrasting to what we experience in our modern day society and in our modern medical system specifically. And so being a herbalist is always connected to deconditioning the collective narratives that we have been picking up around healing, and to be in rebellion against that system. And so it might seem like when you think about herbal medicine, you're like, oh, it's this like casual, light thing, like working with plants. It seems really sweet and soft and wholesome. And there's this whole other aspect of herbal medicine that really invites us into integrity, which we're going to speak so much about integrity today, and really invites us into being in rebellion against the system that exists in our world today. So the history of herbal medicine. Herbal medicine is something that has been practiced in every single culture around the world for almost all of history. If wherever your lineage is from, your ancestors have a history of using herbal medicine. Herbal medicine was the only medicine for thousands of years. And that is what real medicine is. Herbal medicine, right? True medicine, original medicine, authentic medicine is herbal medicine. And so one thing that we did when I was in herb school is that every single person looked back at their lineage, wherever they are from. And being from Canada, we have a very diverse, everyone has a very diverse background here. So everyone in the class had these different lineages. And in every single one of those lineages, we all went back and studied the history of herbal medicine in our culture. And what was found is that in every single culture, we can find a history of herbal medicine, because before we had our modern medical system, that was the only medicine that everyone in the world had access to. Every single culture around the world has used plants for healing. Animals use plants for healing all of the time. And we are animals, right? So we have this deep ancestral relationship with herbal medicine, and working with the medicine woman, working with herbal medicine, it brings us in touch with our ancestry and our roots. And so this was kind of like the standard medicine across all cultures for a very long time. And the way that we got into what we call our medical system today is that there was this thing that happened in Europe where basically the Catholic Church decided that the only people who were going to be able to practice medicine were men, and the only people who were going to be allowed to attend medical school were men, and that school was going to be run by the Catholic Church. And so while across almost all of history, most healers and medicine women were women, there's this history, right, of women just having this natural innate connection to the plants and ability to, like, almost every single woman was a herbalist in history. Like every single woman would have some connection to the plants and their healing ability, and would be working with those plants to heal her community and to heal her family. Today, we call that a community herbalist. I believe that every woman is innately a community herbalist, and we just need to reinvigorate those roots that live within us. Yeah. So every single woman was working with the plants that grew around her, working with the plants in her community and using them to help heal her family. And there might have been medicine women in the community that, you know, might have gone deeper into healing around like very specific situations. If there was like a deeper illness or a deeper situation that needed deeper support, but everyday sort of medical concerns were dealt with within the household, mostly by women of the household. And when the church came in and said the only people who can practice medicine are men and they have to go to our school, this was one of the doorways through which they began the witch hunt. And so the witch hunt is very deeply connected to the practice of herbal medicine, because now any woman who was practicing healing outside of the church was being accused of witchcraft. So there's this deep history of persecution that exists around herbal medicine. And this is why reclaiming herbal medicine and reclaiming herbalism is an act of rebellion, right? Because our modern medical system, what the church began to do within those schools is to separate everything and start to treat the body in this way that, you know, we call modern science, which is a practice of isolating and separating. We separate every single organ in the body. We separate every single disease. We have textbooks that say these symptoms mean this disease, and this is how we treat that disease. So within our allopathic model of medicine, we are not treating whole people. We are treating symptoms. And we're not even treating those symptoms. We're not actually addressing root cause of symptoms. The modern medical system, the allopathic system, what it does is it works to suppress symptoms. And so that's what our pharmaceuticals do. They suppress symptoms. You come into the doctor, you give a list of symptoms, they look in their book, they say, this list of symptoms matches this list in my book. Here's the medicine that suppresses those symptoms. Now, what this does is when we suppress symptoms, we actually push disease deeper into the body, because when a symptom is an expression of imbalance, it's your body letting you know that there's something out of harmony. And when we, instead of looking at that and exploring, okay, what's the cause of that? What's going on at a deeper level that's causing that imbalance? When we just push that down by suppressing that symptom, what we do is we push the disease deeper into the body. And then we end up with chronic illness. This is why chronic disease and chronic illness is rampant in our modern world, because we have this allopathic model of medicine that addresses symptoms but does not address root cause. We cannot address root cause in a 5-minute conversation with our doctor, right? Which is what happens in the modern medical system. This whole class could be about the flaws of the modern medical system, but we're not going to go there. Okay. I assume that if you're here, you're listening to this, you already kind of know a bit about why that's not working. But what's important to recognize here is that when we're working with herbal medicine in any capacity, we're in a practice of rebellion against that system, because we are actively choosing to go beyond the allopathic approach and begin to explore deeper layers of actual healing and getting to root cause. We're going to talk a little bit more about a different approach to healing that is the exact opposite of the allopathic model towards the end of this class. So we're in this, whenever we're working with a medicine woman, we're in this deconditioning. We're in this deconditioning process of, because we now, those of us who are alive in this day and age, we have been raised in this modern system that is about separation, that is about isolation, and that is about suppression of symptom. And so we have that mindset. It's conditioned into us, right? And we need to begin to uproot those narratives that live within our mind, that live within our psyche, to be able to really heal in an integral way, which is what herbal medicine is really all about. Okay, so let's talk about, the last piece I wanted to speak to around this rebellion and this pattern of persecution around herbal medicine is that this is not over. This is not ancient history. You can't hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay. Last piece I want to, that's interesting that I got cut out there because of what I'm about to say. So there's never a coincidence here, right? So what I'm about to speak to is the modern persecution that is still happening in herbal medicine. This is not like, this witch hunt stuff is not ancient history. It's actually still very much happening today. And this is something that I learned about this weekend when I was connecting with some of my friends who are practicing herbalists in Ontario. This is specific to Canada, but I am 100% sure that similar things are happening in the United States and other places in the world. So I just learned that herbalists in Ontario are being shut down by the government of Canada for selling herbal products. And Health Canada is coming after herbalists, and because they've basically implemented some new laws that are like around sort of like health products and supplements and things like this, that there's a whole bunch of things that are no longer being sold in Canada, that are no longer accessible in Canada. They basically are putting a kibosh on any kind of natural medicines. And if you make your own medicine, which is what, again, folk herbalism is based in, it's like that reciprocity and relationship with the land and the plants and making your own medicine. Like one of the biggest producers of herbal medicine in Ontario, like this long-standing farm that has been producing herbs, tinctures, teas, all of these different medicines for like 25 years, got shut down by Health Canada. And if you're a herbalist practicing in Ontario, the government can come to your house and shut you down. for making tinctures and selling them to people. So the witch hunt is not over, my friends, and the persecution is still very real. Another expression of this, which I know is is really happening in the United States right now as well, is around contraceptive health. This is something that I'll just speak to briefly, but I personally am not a registered herbalist in Ontario. I did all of the schooling to become a registered herbalist, but I did not get my registration. This is one of the reasons why. Registered herbalists in Ontario are not allowed to speak about contraceptive health. We're not allowed to speak about it. And there are herbs that can be used safely to prevent pregnancy, and that's not allowed to be spoken about if you're a registered herbalist in this province. So, that's really problematic for me personally. One of the things that I learned when I studied herbal contraception is that we hear that before the birth control pill was being produced and passed around, that women were having like 13 kids, right? And like birth control saved us from that. So what the teacher that I studied herbal contraception taught me is that actually if we go back a little bit further, before the witch hunt, before these folk herbalists were persecuted, we find statistically that women were having 1 to 3 children, which means that women were using plants and herbal medicine to prevent pregnancy and to choose when to become pregnant, which is an empowering choice for women. Women need to be sovereign in our connection to our own body. Having 13 children is a health risk to a woman. And that knowledge was wiped out, or tried to be wiped out. Yeah. And so then women started having all of these children, and then they came in and they gave us this birth control, which I could go on, I should do a whole class on the problems around birth control. Okay, but we're not going to go there. But just to give you a little bit of an insight of how this is still very much playing out in the modern world. This is not like something that's ancient history. Okay, so herbal medicine is a practice of relationship, reciprocity, decolonization, and integrity. And when we are practicing herbal medicine, when we're studying herbal medicine, we are studying these things. Herbal medicine is about returning to the earth and deepening our relationship to the earth and to our roots. This is a practice of being grounded in our spiritual practice, right? I talked about this a lot in the Modern Mystic class, which was a couple of weeks ago. You can go there and watch the replay. But a lot of what we see today in modern spiritual circles is people being really disembodied, people being really unanchored, ungrounded, and really disconnected from their roots. Herbal medicine brings us back into connection with the land and brings us back into connection with our roots. It connects us to our root chakra. It's all about creating stability, creating relationship with land over time, creating relationship with plants over time, creating relationship with our ancestors and our ancestral wisdom around herbal medicine. It is a practice of stepping out of that disembodied spirituality that it can be very harmful and out of integrity. And working with plants is something that is very, very magical and very, very tangible at the same time. I'm going to share an example that happened this weekend with my friend Kate, who's here on the call tonight, that she got stung. And we had just finished a class on herbal first aid. And one of the things that they talked about in that class was spit poultice, which is chewing up a plant and using that chewed up plant and putting it on a wound or on a cut or on a sting. And she had a sting that was swelling up on the back of her arm. And I was like, there's got to be, within arm's reach, there's got to be plantain around us right now, which is a great spit poultice for a sting. I looked around and I was like, there, plantain. Grabbed a leaf and she chewed it up and put it on her sting, and immediately it was cooling, right? This is like a very tangible example of being able to experience plants as healing in the moment. And plants are also very mystical. they also work with our bodies in ways that our minds can't consciously comprehend, right? We can talk about the very physical, tangible properties of what they do. And there's this mysterious synergy that we have in our relationship with plants where they come into our body and they go to the places where they're needed. You know, you can work with the same plant and like 15 different ways and 15 different people experiencing different ailments. And that plant is going to go into their body and work with their body in a way that their body needs in that moment. And that's the magical quality of plants, because plants are conscious, sentient, living beings that have wisdom. And their wisdom has been evolving in synergy with our human bodies for thousands of years. We have literally co-evolved with plants. They grow around us because we need them, you know? And so the way that we work with plants, it's very magical and it's very tangible at the same time. So I was thinking about this class and I was really thinking about like, okay, with the witch archetype, we talked a lot about sovereignty and sovereignty being the deep medicine of the witch. And I was like, what's that piece around the medicine woman? And I was like, the medicine woman teaches us integrity. The medicine woman teaches us integrity. So integrity requires us to get comfortable with challenging the status quo. Working with herbal medicine requires us to get comfortable with challenging the status quo. You know, because the status quo is the opposite of herbal medicine. Like the world that we live in is so upside down that if you're going to start working with plants and working in natural healing, you're going to be challenging the status quo in a lot of ways, more ways than just looks like on the surface. And we have to be okay with being different, with not belonging, with not fitting in, with, you know, not being a part of this system that honestly isn't working for us, and being a pattern disruptor. You know, like something that I do all the time is I live in a big city, but there's herbal medicine everywhere. It's all around us all the time. It grows on the sides of the highways. Like it's everywhere. Now, I wouldn't harvest my medicine from the side of the highway because it might not be the most pure, but I do harvest medicine around the city all the time. And so I'm that girl who's walking around the city with plants in my hand, like all the time. If there's plants growing, if it's a season where plants are growing and I'm walking around the city, chances are good that I've got a plant in my hand. If I see lavender, I'm picking a lavender and I'm sniffing that lavender my whole way to the grocery store and my whole way back. And you know, that lavender, what it does is it really soothes my nervous system, because I'm not a city girl. I'm not used to all these crowds and traffic and loud noises, but when I got that lavender, it's doing me good. And so many times I've had people be like I can tell people are looking at me. I'm walking down the street with a bundle of leaves in my hand. You know, most people don't see that. They're like, what's that? Why do you have that? And I'm like, oh, because this is medicine. And they're like, what do you mean that's medicine? I'm like, yeah, this is medicine. And I'm going to go home and make it into something. And they're like, well, where did you get that? And I'm like, just over here in the park. Like it's all around. It's everywhere all the time. And just being willing to be that person who stands out, who's different, who's not following the status quo, because that's what's in integrity with me. Like that's me being my authentic self and being in right relationship with the land and the plants. Like I'm willing to stand out. I'm willing for that to be uncomfortable for people. You know, people are uncomfortable with natural healing. Like if you tell people, no, I don't want to take that medicine, I don't want to take that pharmaceutical drug, I'm going to treat myself with herbs, they're like, they can get really uncomfortable. When the pandemic was happening, you know, like you couldn't even talk about herbal medicine. I was in school for herbal medicine at that time, and I was posting online about what I was learning in school, and my posts were getting flagged, you know, because I was speaking about natural healing. You couldn't even talk about it at all. So there is this integrity requires us to be really clear on our own values and to be the embodiment of those values, regardless of how it might disrupt and challenge the status quo, regardless of how it might disrupt and challenge the world around us. And this is how we change the world. This is how we change those systems, is by being willing to disrupt them and challenge them. So discernment and holding integrity in our values is something the earth and the plants have brought me back to again and again and again and again in my life. And when we begin to develop a relationship with the land, a relationship with the earth, a relationship with the plants, they can hold us in our integrity. They can hold us in that relationship. Integrity for me is about being in right relationship. Right relationship means balance of giving and receiving, means reverence, means reciprocity. And it means looking at how I can be in right relationship with myself, looking at how I can be in right relationship with spirit, looking how I can be in right relationship with the land, with the plants, with each other, with our community, with our friends, with our family, our teachers, our students. These are all our coworkers, right? These are all the ways that we can begin to examine, am I in integrity? And if we want to deepen our relationship with integrity, deepening in our relationship with the earth and the land and the plants, great place to start. They hold us in so much integrity and grace when we mess up, because we're human. We're not going to get it perfect. We are going to mess up. We are going to make mistakes. And I'm going to share some stories about how plants and my relationship to herbal medicine has deepened my integrity over the years when I have not been in integrity, or when my relationship with integrity has gotten muddy. Okay, so responsibility to honor right relations. What does this look like? Number one, for me, this looks like treating healing as something that happens gently, that honors our natural timeline, and that honors our nervous system and our safety. So much of the healing work that I see happening in the world today is not in integrity in this way. There's so much healing work that is pushing and forcing and aggressively sort of forcing people into a healing crisis, forcing people into an activated state in order to produce some kind of like instant result. Healing is not instant. Healing is never going to be overnight. And there's so much, like, I'm sure you guys have seen, these videos of like people having these like really extreme reactions, or like really group things happening, and like lots of people like purging their deep, all this kind of stuff. But these really extreme experiences, these really extreme activations of the nervous system and of the body, this is not healing unless we're integrating that experience. This is not actually healing. And for me, I don't really think that we need to force healing. I think that healing happens on its own. The body is innately self-healing. And the body is a very intelligent and wise system that works to come back to homeostasis. There's so many intricate synergies happening within our body all the time to bring us back into homeostasis, to bring us back into a state of wholeness and healing. And when we work with herbal medicine, what we're doing is we're just supporting the body's natural process in doing that. We're actually encouraging the body's natural process in doing that. We're not overriding the body. We're not forcing the body. And we're also not forcing the spirit. We're also not forcing the mind, right? A lot of these aggressive healing approaches, for me, this is not right relationship with healing. So this is something that I take very seriously. And I think about it a lot. Another responsibility to honor right relationship is reverence and reciprocity with the earth. What does this actually mean? It means that we say thank you before we say please. It means that we come with true gratitude in our hearts. And we bring offerings to the land. We say thank you to the land. We build relationships with the land that we work with and that we work on. You know, one of the ways that I do this is I literally could not imagine. I host retreats, and I literally could not imagine hosting a retreat on a land that I did not have a deep relationship with. This is completely out of integrity in my perspective. Because if I don't have a relationship with that land and I'm inviting people to that land to have a healing experience, that's me going to the land and saying, give me something. Before I'm saying, hi, nice to meet you. Here's me. I'm Hannah. Who are you? Let me get to know you, your energy. What do you have to offer? You know, what do I have to offer you? That's what building a relationship with land looks like. It's like spending time on the land, spending time getting to know the spirits of that land, because all land has spirits and all land has a specific energy and a frequency. And when we build healthy and beautiful reciprocal relationships with land, the land wants to heal us. The land the land that I work with in Costa Rica, where I host my retreat, I've hosted 6 retreats there now. I've been going back there for 8 years. When that land greets me, it's like a warm hug from Mother Earth. It's like, hello, welcome home. Thank you for coming back. Please keep bringing women here. We have so much healing to offer them. You are the bridge. Please bring the women to us. Right? This is my relationship with that land. But I didn't go there saying, oh, I want to make money. I'm going to come here and bring groups, and how can I take from you? What can I get from you? Right? That's a colonizer perspective. We have to like decolonize our minds that we're going to go into nature and just get something. You know, this is why I shared this on social media recently, that I decided not to make I was like, oh, what can I talk about? I'm speaking about the medicine woman. And I was like, well, I could make a video of me teaching about some plants. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that, because when we learn about the plants out of context without having a relationship to them, what happens is that most of us have some kind of a colonizer mindset, because that's so pervasive in our world today. And what it does is it encourages this relationship with the plants where we go to the plants to get something. Where, oh, now I found out from Hannah that this plant does this, so I'm going to go and take that because that can give me something. Instead of, hello, hi, nice to meet you. Here's who I am. Who are you? Teach me about your medicine. Here's an offering. Here's a piece of my hair. Here's a song. Here's a prayer. Here's a tobacco offering. I'm okay, like, just to sit with you and learn from you and get to know you. You know, this is what it means to build a relationship with plants and build a relationship with land. It's a process. It's a process of sitting and being with the land, sitting and being with the plants, getting to know them, letting them share their voice with you, opening your heart, listening from the heart instead of from the mind. So all of this in and of itself is decolonization work, right? Because that's the exact opposite of going with a taker mentality. It's going with a giver mentality. What can I give? What can I offer? How can I be in reverence, in reciprocity, in gratitude? So yeah, I have here building friendships with plants. When my friends see me go into the forest and I see my friends, I treat them like I would if I saw, like I recently on the weekend saw an old friend that I hadn't seen in 4 years, and we were like, you know, and when I see the plants that I know and love and I haven't seen them for a long time, that's exactly how I greet them. And that's exactly how they greet me as well. I've had friends be with me and see me greet the plants, and they're like, wow, the plants smile when they see you. I'm like, yeah, because they love me and I love them. We have a relationship. We're friends. We're homies. We go way back. You know, I've been sitting with these plants, and every time I see them, I say hello. And I say, thank you. Thank you for your medicine. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all the healing that you've offered me. I'm so grateful for you. And so they feel respected. They feel honored. and they want to share their medicine with us. Like the plants are craving relationship with us. For thousands of years, humans have had an interconnected relationship with plants where we talk to plants, where we know the plants around us, where we speak their names, where we honor them, where we give gratitude to them. And as of the last 50 years or so, we've completely lost that. The plants are craving to be reconnected with us. They miss us so much. Every single breath that we take is thanks to the plants, right? They give us oxygen. Like they turn our carbon dioxide into oxygen. And so they are like this unconditional loving energy. They love us unconditionally. They're the color of the heart chakra, green. Like they just want to love us. And we're like walking by, we don't even notice. Nobody even knows their names anymore. They're craving to be reconnected with us. But again, it's decolonizing the approach, the way that we come, not with an aggressive taker mentality, but with a giver mentality. Asking permission. This is a really, really big one. We get to learn how to practice asking permission. This is something we'll be teaching in Rose Temple, is how to ask permission and how to receive permission, and how to honor the no when the answer is no. Permission can be around coming to certain land. I've received sometimes a no from land, like you're not welcome here. And I'm like, okay, thank you. Thank you for telling me. You might want to harvest a plant and the answer may be no. So asking permission is really important. And learning how to have that plant communication is how we begin to honor that and ask permission. Okay, we talked about honoring land spirits, listening to land spirits without expectation, and listening to the plants without expectation, like in general, coming without expectation. Coming with something to give rather than something that we want to get, is really important. And the plants are so funny the way that they teach us. Like I had this experience recently where there's a forest nearby where I live, and I was walking in the forest, and I've been walking in this forest all year round. And when the spring first started, I was like, ooh, who's growing around my home? Who's growing around here? And I noticed that there was a lot of red raspberry growing around. So I was like, oh, amazing. I love that as a tea. It's a really beautiful plant. It's a beautiful herb. I'm going to come back when the raspberries are fully grown and harvest some red raspberry leaf. It's a beautiful tea for women's health. And I had this spot picked out. I was like, this is the spot. I'm going to come back here. I'm going to harvest my medicine here. I went back when the plants were big, and I went there and I asked permission, and then they were like, no. And I was like, because I'm having expectation now. I'm coming with expectation. I'm like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go there and I'm going to get my red raspberry leaf. And they're like, no. I'm like, right. So I made offerings to the plants. I was like, okay, I'm sorry. Here's my hair. Here's my song. Like, thank you. Thank you for your medicine. Thank you for being here. And then I kept walking, and I saw lots more red raspberry leaf as I was walking. And so I was like, oh, maybe I'll ask again. And I asked again to another patch, and it was like, yeah, of course, take as much as you want. I was like, okay. So the plants are teaching us. They're teaching us about integrity, right? That in that moment, it was a reminder for me of like, right, don't come with expectation. Don't come with, what can I get? So this is a beautiful thing to remember. Prayer and practicing forgiveness. This is something that we can always deepen our practice of forgiveness. We are humans. We are, imperfect, and we have lots to forgive for. So we can always practice deeper forgiveness. This is a way to be in right relationship. Just being rooted and grounded and anchored in what we share and what we teach. This is one of the ways that I practice being in right relationship, and that I practice that I feel a responsibility to being in right relationship, and apologizing when we misstep, when we're out of integrity, and just being humble and having that humility of being willing to notice when we misstep, and holding that humility, and also then receiving the grace and the compassion of the plants that holds us in unconditional love, even when we misstep. The plants never withhold their breath, ever, ever, ever. They never withhold their like every single time we eat, breathe, or take medicine, if we're working with herbal medicine, all of that is from the plants. Like, they love us so unconditionally. We have been just like trampling this earth, and they're like, here's every single breath you'll ever need. Here's every single piece of food you'll ever need. Here's every single piece of medicine you'll ever need, like still giving unconditionally. So there's a lot of grace in that relationship as well. And that's a beautiful way to learn humility, like if we have that unconditional love from our parents, from our mothers when we're growing, then when we learn humility, when we learn to say sorry, like I misstepped, we're held in that unconditional love. And the plants and the earth really do hold us in that way. The earth is our really great mother that holds us in that. Okay, so I want to talk about a couple of the different ways that plants have deepened my integrity over the years, and lessons that I've learned. And I mean, there are so many, like probably thousands of small ways that this has happened. I just told you the story about the red raspberry leaf. That was a good example. But these are some bigger ones. So when I first started my herbal medicine journey, of course, I went through my own healing journey with the plants. And when we start to study herbal medicine, it tends to be that we start to understand deeper roots of imbalance within our body. We start to learn about places that we need healing. And for me, what I needed healing around was my hormones. My hormones were imbalanced. And for women, having imbalanced hormones can lead to emotional dysregulation. And I was very emotionally dysregulated. I was taking a lot of my emotions out on people around me, specifically my partner. And the plants helped me deepen my relationship with integrity by helping me see that, helping me see where I was being reactive, where I was not able to hold my own emotional expression, where I was being reactive and just, not just dysregulated in my emotions. And through the healing that I experienced with working with the plants to balance my hormones, I learned how to regulate my emotions, and I learned how to have more equilibrium and to be in more internal harmony, and also how to take accountability for the ways that I wasn't showing up in that way. Herbal medicine has helped me heal my seasonal depression. I experienced really severe seasonal depression for many years. Also ran away from winter for many years due to that. And when I came back to Canada, and I this past winter was my first winter in 10 years, my first full winter in 10 years. And I was nervous about my seasonal depression coming back, but I knew how to work with the plants, and I knew how to work with my nervous system. And I also knew that my seasonal depression was not so much an issue with me, but more so an issue with the capitalist patriarchal world that we live in, that is trying to force us to be productive all the time. And my body was trying to do winter. My body was trying to rest. My body was trying to sleep. My body was trying to hibernate. And when I had to go to school and I had to work and I had to have like 16-hour days, I was struggling. I was struggling a lot. And so I decided that I was going to heal my relationship with winter, and I was going to hibernate. And I was going to rest. And I slept for like 12 hours a night all winter long. And I took herbs, and I worked with the plants, and I worked with my nervous system, and I worked with like all the tools that I had. And I was able to heal my relationship with winter, and I was able to not experience seasonal depression. And I was also able to see the ways that our culture has a wounded relationship with the feminine, because the winter is the most yin time of year. And I'm someone who teaches feminine embodiment. And I had a wounded relationship with the winter. Mind you, this was like 10 years ago, but still. So, healing my relationship with winter was like deepening me into my embodiment of the feminine, which is the yin, which is what I teach. And the plants helped me to do that, helped me to deepen my integrity in that way. Okay, another way that the plants and my relationship with the land specifically helped me to deepen my relationship with integrity. So this is a deep story, and I won't really go into all of the details, but several years ago, I had sort of fallen into this. There's like a very dark side of the online healing and coaching industry, and it's a very extractive sort of model of doing business that is happening in that space. And I had fallen into some of those traps. I had fallen into working with a teacher that was really embodying some of those wounded expressions and shadows. And the way that I was able to see that darkness and to hold myself into deeper integrity and to step out of that space was through taking time completely offline and going and being in nature. And I spent like 2 weeks in nature, and I came back and I was like, something is not right here. Like, this is not it. This is not in integrity with me, with my values, with the work that I came here to do. And that really helped me to be able to step out of that space and reclaim my energy and deepen my integrity. The plants helped me to heal my nervous system after exiting a coercive, abusive relationship, which, was a big journey, a big initiation that I went through. And the plants like held me so deeply in that and really helped me to. Integrity is also like our integrity of our own wholeness, and it helped me to come back into my power. It helped me to heal my nervous system. It helped me to step back into my full strength working with the plants. And the last one is that this is a big one. This is a big one. I'm going to share a full podcast episode on this one because this is like a big story. But I sat with ayahuasca several years ago, and I have a lot of feelings about that plant medicine and the way that it's being used in the modern context. And that medicine showed me the lack of integrity that's happening in a lot of healing spaces and a lot of shamanic spaces, the extractive and abusive situations that are happening in those spaces was revealed to me by sitting with that medicine. And also the lack of integrity in the sense that the way that this medicine is being shared with the world in such a widespread way, like everybody needs to drink ayahuasca. This is a very, very strong medicine, and medicine is for when we're sick. So we need to be very mindful about that. And that was a huge, huge, huge initiation for me in integrity. So, okay, integrity is so many things, right? Like there's so much. I could probably talk about this for like 48 hours or something. But integrity is really about being in right relationship with the earth first and foremost. And when we come back to that relationship, our relationship with the earth, like we are held in, we will be realigned, wherever we're out of integrity or wherever we're feeling like we don't know if we're in integrity. If we sit with the earth, if we go back to our relationship with the earth and we make sure that we're in right relationship with the earth, like we're honoring nature and we're honoring the earth, we're going to come back into integrity quickly. That is a beautiful kind of anchor to hold us in integrity. And then second to that is being in integrity with our values, living in alignment with our values. And one of my first and foremost values is being in right relationship with nature and Mother Earth. Like that's foundation. That's like number one. So when we come back into right relationship there, all the other pieces can sort of come back into place. You know, we can have forgiveness, we can have humility, we can remember to be in right relationship with giving and receiving. Okay, so how to practice integrity in herbal medicine. The first one is building direct relationships with plants. One of the teachers that I saw speak over the weekend shared that he does not give medicine to his clients, that he has not built a long-standing relationship with that plant. Like, he does not give plants to people that he does not have a years-long relationship with, sitting with that plant, making medicine from that plant, taking medicine from that plant, and experimenting with his students with medicine from that plant. If he doesn't have that relationship with that plant, he doesn't give it to his clients, regardless of what he might be able to study from books and things like this. So for me, that was like, wow, that's a really high level of integrity, you know, and building direct relationships with plants, like sitting with plants, getting to know them, is the number one way that we can be in integrity in our practice of herbal medicine and in our embodiment of the medicine woman archetype. The second way is honoring our roots and our ancestors. This is another practice that herbal medicine invites us deeper into. You know, I lived in countries that my ancestors have no connection to for many years, like in tropical countries in Mexico and Costa Rica. And I did learn some of the herbal medicines about those plants, but I always felt a little bit disconnected from those plants. Like, I didn't feel a full resonance of like, oh, these are my medicines, these are my plants. And, you know, I loved getting to know them. I loved studying them, but there was like a gap there. As soon as I came back to Canada, I was like, these are my plants. Like, these guys know me. They've known my ancestors for a long, long time, for hundreds of years. You know, I'm 9th generation Canadian. So my ancestors have been in this land for a long time. And before that, they're from Europe, where there's a lot of similar plants. So my ancestry knows these plants. And you know, there's so many ways that we can deepen our relationship with our ancestors, but that's just a like a nugget that I want to leave you with, that you can kind of begin to piece apart and explore on your own. The third one is not using herbs with an allopathic approach. Okay, what do I mean for this? So when we have an allopathic approach to healing, we are basically we're suppressing symptoms, right? We're like, I have a cough, let me stop coughing. I have a fever, let me lower my temperature. We're trying to get rid of the symptom. I have a rash, let me put a cream on the rash. You know, herbal medicine, when we're working with herbal medicine in integrity, we're working with a vitalism approach to healing and a holistic approach to healing. And what that means is that we are looking at whole people and whole plants and the synergistic relationship between people and plants. We are not looking at symptomology and suppressing symptomology. So it's very easy, because we have so much colonizer conditioning around that allopathic approach to healing. It's so easy to fall into that with herbal medicine of like, okay, instead of taking, you know, this allergy medicine, I'm going to take nettle tincture instead. And that's going to suppress my allergy symptoms. Okay, maybe it's a bit more natural, but it's an allopathic approach to herbal medicine. So what we really want to look at is like, why is that symptomology occurring in the first place? What is the deeper root cause of that imbalance within the system? There is almost 100% of the time an energetic, emotional, or spiritual root cause of any imbalance that's happening in the system. The imbalance is not starting at a physical level, right? So when we came onto the call, someone asked like a funny question of like, I want you to tell me a herb that's good for this, right? And it's like, well, actually, what I would want to look at is, why are you having that problem in the first place? Like, what's really going on in your body, in your system, that symptomology is presenting? Where's the root of that imbalance? And then how can we really transform that root imbalance? So not using herbs with an allopathic approach. Deconditioning and decolonizing the mind. We talked a lot about different ways to do this. And what it really comes down to, in the simplest of terms, is transforming our mind from a taker mentality to a giver mentality. And that is the difference between the mindset of colonizer peoples and the mindset of indigenous peoples. Indigenous peoples have giver mentality, colonizer peoples have taker mentality. And a fantastic book that talks about all of that is called Ishmael. If you have read that book, it's a fantastic way to explore those concepts. Okay, so another way we can work with integrity in herbal medicine is holistic healing and vitalism. So this is about mind, body, spirit healing. This is about looking at whole bodies, whole systems, understanding the root cause of imbalance, understanding when an imbalance started, what was going on emotionally, what was going on spiritually in that person's life. Where did the illness get in? Where did the imbalance come in? Because there's always a moment when there's a vulnerability in the system and that illness can come in. And so what's that vulnerability in the system? And how can we deal with helping that vulnerability to come back into homeostasis? Because the body always wants to come back into homeostasis. The symptom is just showing you, it's alerting you that there's something off, right? The symptom is just saying, hey, something's out of balance here. Something's deeper off. And when we treat the symptom as like a warning sign that something's off, then we want to go on a deep journey to explore what that is and to find the root cause. Usually it's spiritual or emotional or energetic. Pretty much all of the time, it's not starting on the physical level, because the physical level is the most dense level of the body. So when we are experiencing symptom on the physical level, it tends to have already moved through the spiritual body, through the emotional body, through the energetic body, and now it's manifesting physically. So we want to go back to sort of the spiritual level or the energetic level. That's the least dense level. And that's where we can actually treat the imbalance in a way that it's going to also cascade, right? It's going to cascade through the mental and emotional level, and then it's going to cascade into the physical level. So working with this holistic approach, it takes longer. We like, in order to get to that root, we have to talk to people for like 2 hours. We have to hear their whole story. We have to get to know them. We have to understand their lore. And we also have to get to know plants. We have to get to know how they work emotionally, energetically, spiritually. What effects do they have on the body at those levels? It's more work, but it's worth it. So this is what I mean when I say a holistic approach to healing and a vitalism approach to healing. And this is what we're going to be really diving deep into in Rose Temple, is like basically all these pieces that I'm saying, like how to be in integrity, like how to build relationship with plants, how to communicate with plants, how to figure out who your plant allies are, how to have this holistic and vitalism approach to healing. Like we're going to have classes on all of these things so that you actually learn how to do those things. And then you're going to be given practices of like how to go and sit and introduce yourself to a plant, how to communicate with that plant, how to make medicine from that plant, how to ask permission, so that you can start to develop relationships with these allies. Integrity in herbal medicine looks like reverence and reciprocity. So saying thank you before we say please, coming with offerings, coming with gratitude. The plants appreciate our attention so much. Like just saying hello, just greeting them, just being attuned to them. Like they love it. They feel so grateful when we're grateful for them. Um, treating the plants as conscious beings. So understanding that these are elders and they have so much to teach us. They are conscious spiritual beings, and coming to them with that approach, just in the same way that you would approach any of your human teachers, or a really sacred site or a temple, like what kind of reverence would you bring? And treating the plants as such. And last but not least, treating the body as an intelligent and self-healing organism. Again, I've spoken about this quite a bit, but just understanding that our body has the innate capacity to heal, and our body wants to come back into wholeness. And when we work with herbal medicine and integrity, all we're really doing is supporting the body's natural process around that. We're just encouraging the body's natural self-healing process. We're helping to remove anything that blocks or hinders that natural self-healing process, because we understand that the body wants to come back into wholeness. The body wants to heal. The body wants to reclaim that homeostasis, that wholeness state. And there's so much synergy happening within the system all the time to recreate that. And so we just get to support the processes that are already doing that and help to clear anything that's blocking that. Okay, so that's what I got for you today on the medicine woman archetype. It went deep. I hope that you learned something new. I hope that it opened your mind to a different perspective of herbal medicine and working with plants and working with the land. If anyone